doing well. In the today's class, we are going to start with a new topic, deadlock. It's one of the interesting topic in the operating system. Can you imagine what exactly deadlock means? You have a very narrow bridge. You have a very narrow bridge, and if two vehicles, if they arrive from the different directions, if two vehicles they arrive from opposite directions, what will happen? None of the vehicle can proceed, right? That particular situation, we call it as deadlock. Many of the times in the operating system also, will get a situation called deadlock. Here in the operating system, deadlock, it is a situation where none of the process will be able to continue its execution. In the operating system, deadlock is a situation where none of the program or none of the process will continue its execution. That particular condition, we call it as deadlock. Under such situation, the CPU will be idle and none of the process will proceed to its execution. Okay, let us see how exactly we get this particular situation. Okay, let us take an example. Assume that you have two processes, say P1 and P2. Assume that you have two processes P1 and P2. And initially, assume that process P1 is requesting for the tape drive. Assume that process P1 is requesting for tape drive and it will get the tape drive. Here just look at the diagram. Okay, process P1, it is holding the tape drive. Tape drive is allocated to the process P1. And at the same time, the process P2, assume that it is requesting for printer. So process P2, it has requested for printer and this printer is allocated to the process P2, right? So after the first instruction in process P1 and P2, we have next instructions. In the process P1, we have request printer. Please refer the diagram, students. P1, process P1, now it is holding the tape drive. Okay, already it has got tape drive and now it is requesting for the printer. Okay, and similarly processor P2, it has already got printer, right? And now it is requesting for tape drive. Okay, now what will happen is process P1 is requesting for the printer which is held by P2 and P2 is requesting for the tape drive which is held by process P1. Under such circumstance, none of the process, either P1 or P2, will not be able to continue the execution because P1, it has to wait for printer which is already held by P2. P2 is waiting for tape drive which is already held by P1. This particular condition, we call it as deadlock. Hope you are understanding this concept. Okay. So deadlock, it is a situation where none of the process will be able to continue its execution. So if you look at the diagram, easily you can understand. It happens in the circumstances where P1 is holding one resource, P2 is holding another resource. Okay. P1 is waiting for the resource which is held by P2 and P2 is waiting for the resource which is held by P1. And now either P1 or P2, none of these will be able to continue the execution, right? Such circumstance or such situation, we call it as deadlock. Okay, here we have the definition for deadlock. In the textbook, the author will define the deadlock as it is the situation involving set of processes D in which each process Pi in D satisfy two conditions. Assume that you have a situation involving a set of processes, so that set is represented by D, and there you have a process, say Pi, and that process Pi in the set D satisfies the following two conditions. First condition is the process Pi is blocked on some event Ej. We have a process Pi which is blocked on some event Ej, means it is waiting for the event Ej, and event Ej can be caused only by the actions of other processes in set D. The meaning is that the process Pi is waiting for some event Ej, but however that Ej can be caused by some other process which is in the same set D. This particular condition, these particular conditions will cause for deadlock. Students, remember what is deadlock? Okay, what is deadlock? Basically, deadlock, it is a situation where none of the process will be able to continue its execution. Okay, and it can be defined as it is the situation involving set of processes D in which each process Pi in the D satisfies two conditions. What are the two conditions? Process Pi is blocked on some event Ej. However, that event Ej can be caused only by the actions of other processes in the set D. So these are the conditions which may cause deadlock. Okay, now in the next slide, we are going to look at the concepts of deadlocks. Okay, first we have events related to resource allocation. Students, mainly this deadlock happens, this deadlock situation occurs during allocation of resources. Okay, that's why here we are going to discuss about the events which are related to resource allocation. So when you consider resource allocation, there exist three important events. The first event is request, second event is allocation, and third event is release. First, a process is going to request for the resource. The operating system is going to allocate the resource. After completing usage of that resource, the process has to release that resource. We'll discuss these three events, how exactly they take place. Okay, if you consider the event request, it indicates that the process is requesting for some event, and actually this request, it takes place through a system call. The process or program, it can request for the resource by using system call. System call basically it's nothing but operating system level instruction. The process has to request the resource. It has to request for the resource by using some operating system level function. Okay. So if the resource is available, if the resource is free, in that case, the operating system is going to allocate the resource immediately to the process. Otherwise, if that resource is not available, in that case, the process is sent to blocked state. Students, try to understand. When the process makes request for the resource, the operating system is going to check whether that resource is available or not. Okay, if the resource is available, that resource is allocated to the process by the operating system, and the process can continue its execution. But in case if the process is, if the resource is not available, assume that the resource is not free and it is being used by some other process. In that case, the operating system is going to block the process which has made new request for the resource. Next, we have event called allocation. So actually when the resource is allocated, to a process, the process becomes holder of that resource. We can say that that process has acquired the resource. Okay. The resource state information is updated by the operating system, and even the state of the process is changed to ready state. Try to understand, students. Here, when the resource is allocated to a program, we can say that the program is like the holder of the resource. The process is called as holder of those resources. Okay. And at the same time, when the resource is allocated, the operating system is going to update the information regarding that resource. Then we have the third event, students, which is called as release event. So actually, when the process completes usage of the resource, it will release the resource by using a system call. So again, operating system has to execute a system call to release the resource. At that time, if some other process is waiting for that resource, it can make use of that resource. Or if there are set of processes which are blocked on the same resource, in that case, the operating system is going to use some ice breaking rule. It may allocate the resource based on, say, first come, first serve, or some other policies. Okay. Students, we have three events: request, allocation, and release. So when the process makes request for the resource, the operating system is going to check whether the resource is available or not. If it is available, the resource is allocated to the process. But in case if the resource is not free, or if it is not available, in that case the process is sent to blocked state. And when the resource is allocated to the process, we call that process as holder of the resource. And after allocating the resource state information is updated by the operating system, and the process is changed from blocked to ready state. Then when the process releases the resource, when the process completes usage of the resource is given back to the operating system. At that time, if some other processes are waiting for the same resource, the operating system can use some of the policy to allocate that resource. Maybe first come, first serve, or any other policy. We can say some ice breaking rule can be applied by the operating system to allocate that resource. These are the three events which are related to resource allocation. Okay, students, in this slide, in the next slide, we are going to discuss about the conditions that cause for resource deadlock. So actually, we have four conditions. If all the four conditions are satisfied, we can say that there is existence of deadlock. We can say that deadlock has occurred only when all these four conditions are satisfied. The first condition for deadlock is when we have non-shareable resources. This is the first condition. I hope you have remembered what is shareable resource and non-shareable resource. Shareable resource means a resource which can be used by multiple programs simultaneously. However, non-shareable resource is one which can be used by only one program at a time. That we can call it as non-shareable resource. Say for example, if you consider memory is like shareable resource. If you consider CPU is non-shareable resource. It cannot be shared by multiple programs, CPU. Okay. Here, first condition for deadlock occurrence is non-shareable resources. It means that the resources cannot be shared, or a process needs exclusive access to that resource. The meaning of non-shareable resource is that it is a condition where a resource cannot be shared by multiple processes, or a process needs that resource exclusively. Means at that time, no other processes will be able to make use of that resource. This is the first condition we have. And the second condition for deadlock is no preemption. No preemption means you might be having an operating system which does not allocate forceful deallocation of the resource. This condition, if it exists, that will also cause for deadlock. So no preemption meaning is that a resource cannot be preempted from one process and can be allocated to another process. So this is also one of the conditions which cause for deadlock. Then hold and wait. This is the third condition we have. Hold and wait means a process will hold a resource. A process will hold a resource and wait for other resource which is held by some other process. That particular condition we call it as hold and wait. So hold and wait, it is a situation where a process continues to hold the resource allocated to it while waiting for other resources which are allocated for some other programs. This particular condition we call it as hold and wait. Then fourth condition we have circular wait. So actually circular wait, it indicates that a circular chain has been formed with hold and wait condition such that a process Pi is waiting for process Pj, Pj is waiting for process Pk, and Pk is waiting for Pl, and so on. There exists a circular wait of processes where a process is holding one resource and waiting for other resource which is held by some other process. That particular condition we call it as circular wait. Remember students, there are four conditions which cause for deadlock in the operating system. What are the four conditions? When we have non-shareable resources, means the resources will be such that they cannot be shared by multiple processes simultaneously, or a process should use that resource exclusively. Then the second condition is no preemption. No preemption means operating system may not allow to preempt the resource from one process and can be allocated to other process. Then we have hold and wait. So it is the condition where a process will hold the resource and will wait for another resource which is held by some other process. A circular wait, it is simply a circular arrangement of the processes which are in hold and wait condition. Okay, we'll go to the first diagram. Just you look at this diagram. This situation has caused deadlock, right? What is the situation we have? We have a process P1 which is holding tape drive and it is waiting for the printer, right? Now this printer is held by process P2 and process P2 is waiting for the tape drive. So if you look at this condition, now we can see that deadlock has happened. Deadlock has occurred. And this situation, it will satisfy all the four conditions. Okay, what is the first condition we have? Non-shareable resource. Assume that these two resources, printer and tape drive, they are non-shareable. In that case, no way there has occurred a deadlock because they require exclusive usage of, say, printer or tape drive. And what is the second condition we have? Second condition is no preemption. Okay, assume that none of the process can be stopped, right? We cannot preempt a resource from the process. In that case, we can say that deadlock has occurred. Third condition is hold and wait. Yes, we have that condition. P1 is holding tape drive and it is waiting for printer. P2 it is holding printer and it is waiting for tape drive. This condition we call it as hold and wait. Okay, what is the fourth condition we have seen? It is circular wait. Yes, a circular wait of processes has been formed because P1 is waiting for printer, P2 is waiting for tape drive. A circular hold and wait condition is created. So these are the four conditions which cause for deadlock. Students, this is one of the important question in the exam. You may expect this question as what is deadlock? Explain the conditions that cause for deadlock. But if any of the condition, any one of these four conditions is not satisfied, then certainly we can remove the deadlock or we can overcome the deadlock situation. Okay, here for identifying the deadlock, students, we use some modeling. That modeling is referred to as resource allocation state modeling. So to model the resource allocation states, we can have some methods. So basically we have two methods. First method is referred to as a graph model, and the second method we call it as matrix model. We have two methods for modeling the resource allocation states as well as to detect whether the deadlock has occurred or not. Those two models are graph model and the matrix model. Okay, first we are going to discuss about the graph models. So again, in the graph models, we have two types of graphs. One is a resource request and allocation graph. In short form, it is referred to as RRAG, which stands for resource request and allocation graph. So it is one of the simplest method. So actually it consists of nodes and the edges. This graph, resource request allocation graph, it consists of two important elements. One is a node. Node means it's a circle, and also it consists of edges, right? So circle in the graph indicates process. Students, the circle in the graph, remember, it represents a process. And we use a rectangle. The rectangle indicates the resource class. Here, assume that you have a printer. Okay, you have three printers. Assume that you have connected three printers to the same system. In that case, we can say that we have three printers, printer 1, 2, and 3. And they belong to the class of printers. The resource class is printers, and name of the resources are printer 1, printer 2, and printer 3. So here in the graph, the circle indicates process and the rectangle indicates the resource class. And within the rectangle, we use some bullets. Bullets means we use some thick dots which indicates the number of resource units. Assume that you have a rectangle. In that, if you have three dots, that indicates that that particular resource class is having three resources. Then again, we use edges. There are two types of edges. If there is edge from resource class to the process, that indicates that that resource is allocated to the process. Students, try to understand the meaning. It is very simple. If there exists an edge from resource to process, that indicates that the process is already holding that resource. Or in other words, it indicates that that resource is allocated to that particular process. Or if there exists an edge from process to resource, that indicates that the process is waiting for that resource. That indicates that the process is requesting that resource. Okay. So remember, this graph mainly consists of a circle which indicates a process. It consists of a rectangle which indicates the resource class. Within the rectangle, we can have some dots. Those dots will indicate number of resources. The count, say if you have two dots, that indicates that you have two resources of same type. Then we can find two types of edges. What are those? An edge from resource to the process, that indicates that that resource is allocated to the process, right? An edge from process to resource indicates that the process is waiting for that resource or that process is requesting for that resource. Okay, students, don't worry. Here we have an example. Just look at this diagram. And can you think what is the meaning of this diagram after studying these basics? Can anyone explain what exactly this diagram means? Here we have an example. Please look at this graph. Resource request allocation graph. Can you think what exactly this graph is indicating? Okay, tell me first, how many processes we have in the graph? Anyone?
4, sir.
Yes, we have four processes. What are those? P1, P2, right? we have P3, and we have a process P4. Okay, how many resources we have? How many types of resources we have?
Two, sir.
Two. One is a printer, and second one is tape. Then how many printers we have? That dot is indicating how many resources we have of same class. How many printers we have, students?
One, sir.
One printer. And how many tape drives we have?
Two, sir.
We have two tape drives, right? Now, by looking at these edges, can you give me the complete meaning of this resource allocation state? Can you explain? Just think and tell me. Can you explain how allocation has taken place in this graph? Anyone? Can anyone explain? Okay, just look at the diagram. Here, what about P1? P1 has got printer, right? The edge from resource to process P1 indicates that this resource printer is already allocated to P1. I hope you are understanding, right? If there is an edge from resource to the process, that indicates that resource has been allocated. Okay, here printer is allocated to P1. Then what about P2 and P3? We have edge from P2 to printer as well as P3 to printer. What does it indicate? Indicates that P2 and P3, they are requesting for printer, right? And similarly, if you consider this tape drive, we have two units of tape drives. One unit is already allocated to P2 and other unit is already allocated to P3. And what about the process P4? It indicates that the process P4, it is requesting for the tape drive, or it is waiting for getting the resource tape drive. Okay, this is we call it as resource request allocation graph. Are you understanding, students? Can anyone explain exactly once again what is the situation we have in the graph? What is the situation? Printer is allocated to P1, P2 and P3, they are waiting for the printer. Okay. What about the tape drives? Tape drives, they are allocated to P2 and P3. And however, the process P4 is waiting for getting tape drive. This is the meaning of the graph. Okay. So what is this graph? This graph we call it as resource request and allocation graph. It consists of nodes, circle and rectangle. Circle indicates process. A rectangle indicates resource class. And the bullets, means dots within the rectangle, indicate the number of resource units. And we can have edges. We can find two kinds of edges. An edge from resource to process indicates allocation, and an edge from process to resource indicates request. Hope you are understanding this concept. Similarly, we have one more graph model. That second one is wait for graph, which is simply referred to as WFG. It stands for wait for graph. Students, this modeling or this graph we use when there exists only one resource. Sorry, not like that. When each class contains only one resource, in that case, we use wait for graph. A wait for graph can be used to depict the resource allocation state in a system in which every resource class contains only one resource unit. When we have multiple units of same resource, in that situation, we can't make use of this wait for graph. It can be used in the situation where every resource class contains only one resource unit. In that situation only we can make use of wait for graph. In the wait for graph, simply we use circle and edges. A node in the graph indicates process. Node means we use simply a circle, and the edge indicates wait for a relationship between the processes. The wait for graph simply contains only circles and edges, where circle indicates the process and edge indicates the wait for relationship, right? A wait for edge, that is, if you have an edge from Pi to Pj, that indicates that process Pi is holding the resource. The process Pi is holding the resource unit of certain class. Okay, and process, sorry, an edge from Pi to Pj indicates that Pj is holding the resource and Pi is requesting for that resource. It is very simple, students. Just if you observe this diagram, you can understand it. Here we have a resource request allocation graph, first diagram. We have the second diagram, which is referred to as wait for graph. Sorry, okay. Wait for graph. Whether this diagram is visible, RRAG. Can anybody explain the meaning of this graph? A resource request allocation graph. How many processes we have in this graph? How many processes we have? We have 3 processes. What are those? P5, P6, and P7. Okay, what is the meaning of this diagram? Can anybody explain? P5 is holding resource R3, right? P6 and P7, they are waiting for resource R3. I hope you are understanding this. The same thing can be indicated by using wait for graph. How to indicate is, we write P5, then we write P6, P7, but edges will move from P6 to P5 and similarly P7 to P5. The meaning is that process P6 and P7, they are waiting for a resource which is held by process P5. That's nothing but we can say wait for graph. So in wait for graph, what we do is we use only circles which indicate processes, and we use only edges. Those edges, relationship between the edges indicates how the resource allocation has taken place and which process is waiting for which resource. So if you look at this diagram, the meaning of this diagram is that P5 has acquired some resource. Process P6 and P7, they are waiting for the resource which is acquired by process P5, right? So this is about these 2 graph modeling methods. What are the 2 models we have? A resource request allocation graph and wait for graph. Okay, then question is how to detect the deadlock, right? Students, it is very simple. If there exists a circular graph, if a cycle is being formed in any of these graphs, maybe a resource request allocation graph or wait for graph, if a circular cycle is being formed, that indicates that deadlock has occurred. First, what we do is we model the situation or circumstance by using either resource request allocation graph or wait for graph. Then in the graph, if you find a cycle, if you find a circular wait, that indicates that the deadlock has occurred. This is how we make use of the graph model for indicating resource allocation states.